So we're here with Sherri Miller. And first of all, I love whenever I see other people using just their name for their store name. It makes everything so much simpler, doesn't it?
It does.
But also from the Techie Chick. So I love that. When we were talking prior to taking a look at your store, which by the way, if you're watching this video, this is part of a full coaching call with Sherri. And we're just taking a brief look at her store. So you can learn more about Sherri, her goals for her TPT business, and things that we're going to be talking about and sharing with her today to help her meet her 2024 goals in the full video that's linked down in the description below. But when we were talking before, you were saying you have some goals for product creation, but mostly driving traffic in the coming year. So what we're doing is we're just taking a quick look at your page, and I'm kind of coming in here blind. I do that a lot. Just looking for red flags. So I'm not doing a deep dive. I'm not taking a look at every single listing. I'm not looking at all of your keywords or anything like that. Just looking for anything that stands out to me where I might say, I might fix this first, right?
Okay.
So first things first, I'm seeing some things that I like. I love the fact that you've got your rotating banner that gives them clear direction on something that you would like for them to do, on an action that you would like for them to take. Tells them a little bit about who you are and what you create. And then also I love that you're using this as a place to advertise a specific product line. I think that's a really smart use of that banner. And then when we're taking a look at things like this is also good, but I think what I would do for your featured items, I can tell you've got some resources here, like you've got a bundle that's probably pretty popular, and then this one looks like it's a seasonal resource. Yes. One thing that I would consider doing is I would consider putting a resource up here, maybe in this slot, that is an evergreen resource that has a lot more reviews, just so that for these seasonal resources that don't have any reviews yet, and you've got the bundle, which doesn't have that many reviews, but that's okay. It's going to help kind of credibility to the rest of the resources that are seasonal that don't have any testimonials yet. So
okay, great.
That's one thing I would think about doing. But I'm going to go to, I also noticed you have a lot of categories.
I do.
I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, but I would go in and see, is there a way to maybe consolidate at least a little bit?
Okay.
Because it's a lot to try to figure out. If I'm coming in here and I'm looking for something specific, it's a lot to sift through. That doesn't mean that you have to get away with it, but I would maybe even think about, why not take out third grade activities, second grade activities, because I can click a button here and I've already got every single different type of activity here. So anywhere you go in, you think, okay, I could maybe pare that down just a little bit. That's going to allow your custom categories to be a little bit more useful. I mean, they're useful as is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're not useful, but in terms of, I'm a teacher and I'm trying to find something fast, it's going to help me, get to that faster. But I do love that even within this, you've got, okay, everything here is clearly a digital resource. Everything here is, a seasonal or a theme. And then we've got seasons, and then we've got all escape rooms. I think for the most part, you're fine, but I would go in and see if you could cull at least just a little bit. Same for free. I know a lot of times we really want to put that there, but if they want free, they can come right here under prices and they can click free. So just little.
Yes.
And then one of the things that I like to do is I like to go to most recent, and I like to see what your work pattern looks like. When we were talking before, you were talking about, like, sometimes I feel like I'm bouncing around from thing to thing. And so sometimes we see that whenever I look at your store. So I've got a puzzle, pixel art. I've got this puzzle pack that looks like it's all of them mixed together, a scavenger hunt, crack the code, escape room. Talk to me a little bit about what your pattern is. Is there a rhyme or reason, a methodology behind why you're creating each resource when you're creating it?
Okay, so the last few items, the ones that you were looking at that are part of that puzzle pack bundle, which is part of a growing bundle that I started this year, and I'm doing like a monthly pack for, those different types of puzzles. So the pixel arts, the scavenger hunts, the crack the codes and so forth. So there's 5 different kinds of puzzles. And then I think later on, I will probably bundle the different types of puzzles, like all of the scavenger hunts together and all the crack the codes together and so forth. That's kind of been my focus a little bit the last couple of months because I started this growing bundle for that.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense. One thing you could consider, and it just depends on how you work. This isn't going to work the same for everybody, but one thing you might think about doing would be to create all of your pixel arts, say do 5 or 6 pixel arts for the next 5 months, then do all of the next ones for the next 5 months so that you only have to work batch them. So you only have to work on one at a time. But if this method works best for you, where you're able to focus on 1 month at a time, then that's fine too. I can see where you did a lot of different scavenger hunts under the same theme all at once, but then I can also see this pattern that you're working on. I would say just as long as there's a system behind what you're doing, then that's going to be best. And I like the fact that you're working towards putting that bundle together quickly. So as long as you're working towards it, I think it's fine.
Yeah, the scavenger hunts that you saw, the puzzle pack is just for basically 3rd grade at the moment, because I only wanted to take on 1 grade level for that growing bundle. But the word problems scavenger hunts I'm doing for grades 2 through 5. So the 3rd grade one goes into the puzzle pack, but then the others are basically standalone.
Okay.
And they're sort of seasonal themed.
Love it. So on the seasonal theme, here's a couple of suggestions for you in your titles. I had talked to somebody on another coaching call who's in a very similar niche to you and gave her the same advice. And she sent me an email and said she's already selling more from doing this next thing that I'm going to tell you. So is when we're using things like Thanksgiving, Halloween, or something that's really season specific, the same is not necessarily true for evergreen resources. I'm going to be really clear on that. But for specific seasonal items, I found that it works really, really well to do a couple of things.
Okay.
First, to do what you've done with putting what the specific topic is. That helps. Okay. But the second thing is to pair a really broad, find the largest keyword term. In this case, I think it would be Thanksgiving math activity, and then pair that with the grade level. This is specifically for 3rd grade. And I'm going to show you what happens when we do this, because a lot of people will search like this. So they'll do Thanksgiving math activity because they just want something for Thanksgiving, right? Or you can see math Thanksgiving activity is something. So Thanksgiving math activities. So whether you want to do math Thanksgiving activity or Thanksgiving math activities, it doesn't really matter. But, if I type this in, obviously I'm not going to rank for it, right? Which you already know. Like if I have a brand new product, there's no way I'm going to rank for that. Most of the time, and I'm going to say most of the time, I don't know this for a fact, but I know as a searcher, as a buyer, what I'm doing is rather than going down here and finding the grade level and clicking on it, I just go and currently, this TPT search engine algorithm, and this could change later on, does not associate this keyword with the tag. So it is specifically looking for something that says 3rd grade inside of the title. I've immediately gone from something with well over 1,000 reviews to now 475 at the top. And I've got much less down here. Oh, there's one with 6. And you can see this one doesn't even have it doesn't even have the word activity in it. It's missing a word. So I think for sure you could rank for that. I really think you could, because it's picking Thanksgiving math activities. There's 3rd grade. There's Thanksgiving, but math and activity are way down here. And they're showing a free one on the first page. So I think there's a pretty good shot that you could get some of them at least to rank if you're putting 3rd grade in the description right here, or putting 3rd grade and putting 3rd grade here pretty close to the beginning.
So I was going to ask you, do you think word order makes a difference in your title? So how?
Yes.
So 3rd grade after the big
in this case
topic.
In this case, I would, if you think you can rank for it. So here's the caveat here. If I come here and I've got Thanksgiving multiplication, first I would put an activity in there. I would put a word or something like that, because they're probably not going to search for puzzle pack.
Right.
And even here, I've got activity, but I've got it way at the end. So I've kind of got it separated.
Okay.
And the algorithm does seem to favor those keywords that are at the beginning, meaning that they give them a little bit more weight. So if I've typed in the keyword and the keyword is at the beginning versus at the end, it does seem to help just a little bit. Now, I'm not talking about like, I'm going to go from page 52 to page 1. Like, we're not talking about going to help that kind for anybody listening. I don't want you to think like it matters that much, but I would say that that's where it's really important to go ahead and pick what your main keywords are going to be, and then diversify it out from there. Okay. So it could be that you look at this and you think, okay, I'm not going to rank for third grade for all of these, right? There's just not enough spots in that search. So for this one, I might go Thanksgiving math digital activity and just try that. Or maybe I do Thanksgiving math multiplication activity or multiplication facts activity. But I would put words like activity before pixel art and maybe even before digital, and just kind of see where they land and experiment with that just a little bit. I've found that it really helps seasonal items, and particularly if you have a resource, I'm not saying that this will necessarily apply to you, but particularly if you have a resource that spans more than one grade level, then it really helps, because then you're ranking for like Thanksgiving math activity second grade and Thanksgiving math activity third grade and Thanksgiving math activity fourth grade by just adding 3 additional characters, third, fourth, fifth, and then the word grade. So it really helps with those types of resources. And that's also something to keep in mind as a strategy. I'm not saying that this is a good long-term strategy and something that you should do, that everyone should do, or anything like that. But if you're creating a resource that's a seasonal item and you only have time to create one, it might be a really good idea to create a resource that could work for more than one grade level, because then you could rank for more than one grade level, both with those keywords, but also with the tagging. So just something to think about. But
yes, great advice. Thank you.
Absolutely. So then just coming in and really making sure that once you've chosen those keywords and you've kind of experimented with them, you've played around and searched a little bit, making sure that every single keyword that you put in your title, because you've chosen it so carefully, is put back inside of this snippet. And this is something that even I do a lot of times. And I think it helps too, because they're highlighting words now. If I see Thanksgiving math activity here, that helps me a whole lot more than seeing, sometimes you'll go through and you'll see like Thanksgiving math grade. If I'm just skimming with my eye, it doesn't lend as much weight as seeing like Thanksgiving math activity for third grade, right? Seeing that in the snippet all together. Just small things to kind of think about when you're looking at putting those keywords in the snippet, still using that natural language, but pairing them together in a way that, since they're now highlighting them, it's going to allow the eye to catch on and see like, yeah, that's specifically what I'm looking for, to reaffirm to that buyer. Other than that, your covers look great. They're beautiful. The only small thing that I might suggest would be like, on some of these, I can tell that you have a lot of problems. Like, you could say in digital pixel art, you could have that there, but we could also replace some of these, like instead of parade theme, we could put X number of problems or X number of pages, or something like that to convey value to the person who's scrolling in search. But other than that, I mean, they look beautiful.
If something is grade specific, should I put it on the cover as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's another thing that helps reaffirm, especially if we're using the keyword. And I do sometimes use those keywords like third grade, fourth, well, not third and fourth, because that's not my niche. I'm upper, upper secondary. So like 8th grade, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, things like that. Right. Because sometimes, as you know, in math, there are skills that are taught over and over again, and you go to search and you just kind of like, oh, that's not what I want. Like, and so you'll type in that specific grade. And so if it is really grade specific, putting that on your cover can be a really great way to help you stand out in search to that weary teacher who's tired of trying to find a third grade specific resource and keeps getting second grade and fourth grade items that's popping up, right? Yeah. So just kind of reaffirming that to them on the cover, I think, is a really great thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Those are the only notes that I would have for you. And other than that, like your store is looking really good. So we're going to go back and we're going to finish talking about some of your goals for 2024. If you are watching this and you just watched the audit, then I would strongly recommend that you go down to the link inside of the description and watch the full chat with Sherri. Thank you so much, Sherri.